Another important feature of the writing process is editing. Editing is more or less kind of reviewing our texts and then improving them. Editing is all about bringing about changes, not only changes to the local errors, I mean the spellings or punctuation or handwriting or other local errors, but also the global errors, the concepts as well, the content, overall content as well. So it could be about improving style, improving organization, how the assignment has been divided into different segments, and grammatical and lexical correctness and appropriateness. So the appropriate use of vocabulary. For example, you may have written a slang word, a lot of, and it is in the editing process that you come to know that a considerable is more academic word and we can use it more effectively than a lot of. So this is our job as language teachers, to train our students to raise their awareness about editing. And editing doesn't mean just doing it after the assignment has been written. No, it's a continuous and ongoing process. It can be carried out right from the beginning. Let's say you've been given a task to train your students to write essays. So you can, once they have written introduction, you can tell them to review it while they are writing and then edit it. So they can, as I said before in the previous module, that peer-to-peer feedback, research suggests, is more effective, is beneficial for students. So they can be trained to receive or get feedback from their classmates and how to interpret and utilize that feedback or other readers. So that the idea is just to help students develop their writing and bring about, polish it and present it in a coherent way. Feedback can be given at several stages of writing. For example, when the students, the best way is just to ask student write one paragraph and send it to the teacher, and the teacher can have a look at the paragraph, and that can allow that can offer opportunity to see if the students are on the right track. So if we focus too much on the errors, grammatical errors, then we might belong to old school of thought, because now writing is much more seen as a process than as a product. So we need to focus not only on the grammatical errors but also the content, how the information is given, and then we can give our students assessment rubric. Assessment rubric is key in terms of triggering students, keeping their assignments in a logical flow, in a proper format. Feedback is broader. I mean, it goes beyond correction. Some student might see feedback just correction. No, it's not correction. It's rather guiding them. It's rather developing a sense of self-efficacy, sense of self-regulation, so that student can take charge of their own writing and they can become independent. So feedback can be given not only on ideas but also on the construction or overall organization and the language as well. We can train our student to have some strategies to self-correct themselves. Self-correction, apart from peer-to-peer feedback, also can have great influence on students' writing. They can polish it. And then proofreading is an art which requires a lot of noticing, lot of careful consideration, and there is we can train our students how to proofread their text. Then giving help at writing at various stages of their writing. And so overall, this module, the discussion of this module suggests that writing should be seen as a process, not as a product. Because if we see this as a process, if we give equal weightage to the ideas, if we give equal weightage to the construction of the assignment and its layout, then we can see it as a process, not as a product. So teaching writing shouldn't be seen in isolation, because it is closely linked with that of reading. The more students read, the more they practice, the more they can become better writer. And it's also closely related to that of listening and speaking. You might be wondering why speaking, because speaking, one person's output can become another person's input. So this is how it's very well closely intertwined with other skills of writing. So editing, putting ideas into text, and then editing those, reviewing those ideas is key. And this is what is a lot of effort and challenge is required on the part of the teachers.